A sunny morning at Stella Academy, in Professor Lee Hanwal's office, two professors were seen observing the students' exam sheets. Professor Lee Hanwal was still focused on observing Baek Yuseol's exam sheet. Someone's voice was heard greeting Professor Lee Hanwal. An old lady professor suddenly approached and said, "Professor Lee Hanwal, these exam papers are for this year's new batch, isn't it?" Professor Lee Hanwal then replied, "Yes," the old lady professor said, "I heard there are many interesting new students this year." While smiling and patting his hands, Stella Academy Elder Council member Professor Edeltaman, Professor Lee Hanwal then replied, "It seems so. First, there is from a famous family in fire class magic, Hong Bayan, daughter of a Dalabit, who comes from the kingdom of fire. Second, at the age of 12 became the chosen heir to the position of Crown Prince of the Scalvan Empire, purely because of his magic power, Jeremy Scalvan, who has surpassed all his older brothers in the Crown Prince competition. Third, comes from the world's greatest magic tower, Full Moon Tower, the future master of the magic tower, Hei Wonriang." Professor Edeltaman then said, "I heard that it's hard to make exam questions with so many elite students, from prominent families. This year there will definitely be a lot of interesting questions." While putting his right hand on his chin with a happy smile on his face, Professor Lee Hanwal smiled a little and replied, "Thank goodness you like it." Professor Lee Hanwal then looked at the exam sheet, and thought, as Professor Edeltaman said, "This year's class placement exam features a new type of questions. The first 3 questions are the hardest part that students who only study in the usual way can solve. There is a hidden intention behind the 3 questions. There is a hidden intention behind those 3 questions. First, it's a test of flexibility. If it's an unsolvable problem, why not just skip it and move on to the next question? Second, students will be confronted with how to solve problems that don't appear in textbooks. The magic era where theory and memorization are the winners is over. It is now the time to fight using quick thinking and creativity. However, these questions are not meant to be solved. In fact, 1,000 out of 1,141 students left them blank. Among the new students, only 3 people answered all 3 correctly. Ma Yuxiang, this year's prodigy, who appeared like a comet, but her origin is unknown. Then, there is also Flame, who got a scholarship from the principal even though he is a commoner. She is recognized for his talent, and her power was close to Ma Yuxiang. Then there was also Baek Yuseol. Ma Yuxiang and Flame were considered gifted children, but I believe Baek Yuseol had the lowest exam score. I didn't expect him to be able to solve all the questions, especially when he couldn't solve any of the other questions." Professor Edeltaman then said, "I wonder why you are so interested. With the scores of the new students, there seems to be one student whose score is unreasonable. I think, after all, even though various formulas and equations can't solve it, the question can be solved without knowing anything." Professor Lee Hanwal showed Yuseol's exam sheet and asked, "Do you think this kid is a genius?" While looking at Professor Edeltaman, Professor Edeltaman chuckled and said, "It could be a coincidence." While walking away, Professor Lee Hanwal then turned his eyes towards Yuseol's Baek registration paper. The paper has a word that contains, "given a special scholarship because his ability to control Blink is highly appreciated." Professor Lee Hanwal then thought, so the child was given a scholarship directly by the principal. While smiling a little, combat mage apprentice who specializes in Blink, "Yeah, we'll find out soon enough. Is it a coincidence or is he really special?" The next morning at the academy, the students gathered in front of the bulletin board to see the class placement. "I heard the class announcement has been posted," said a student. "I'm still stressed thinking about what class I will get. My mom said I can't go home if I don't get into class A," said another student. Hearing that from a distance, Yuseol then muttered, "I didn't think I had to check the class placement myself, even though in the game, I just checked with one click." Arriving in front of the bulletin board, Yuseol saw several students looking at him while whispering, "It's Baek Yuseol, isn't it? I heard he got a 0 in the application of magic section during the entrance exam. Who would have thought that someone like him could enter Stella Academy? I wonder about the standard of this academy." Yuseol just snorted, "Just blabber all you want." He then focused on looking for his name on the class list. After observing for a while, Yuseol then thought, "My name was not there." After seeing the distribution of students in sections E and F, seeing that Yuseol was surprised and felt panic, then muttered, "They didn't fail because I only answered 3 questions, right? Impossible. Am I now going to die?" Then, Yuil heard other students whispering. There were people who said, Baek Yuseol, how could he, this must be a mistake, there is something wrong here. Someone answered, right, but, Uslek from Marquis, Chechbalen got 29th place and entered Class A. Someone also said, even Kyle, who was placed in Class A because he got a perfect score in the theory section alone, got 17th place. Why is someone like him? Yuil then looked at the crowd, and thought, what happened? Something is strange, I think I should check. Yuil then approached the crowd, then looked at the bulletin board. Yuil was surprised, because he saw his name was in Class S. How could my name be there? With a surprised expression, no way. Actually, what happened, the most special class that students coveted, Class S. It was a place where the most special students from the best magic school, Stella Academy, gathered, different from other classes which per class had a mention of 1A, 1B, and as such, Class S only had 41 students, and Class S only has 41 students, and only one class. I was put into Class S. There must be a mistake here, this is driving me crazy. While scratching my head, now I will definitely meet the main character there often. Getting involved with the protagonist will only shorten my lifespan, which is already short to begin with. I can't even change classes. I better try to stay inconspicuous, while going away from the crowd. How about later? Behind her was the character Flame, looking at Yuil, with a flat and calm expression. In a dim room, an old woman was seen slapping a young girl hard. She said, 3 questions were answered wrong. Even the daughter of the Malf Duchy who fell down managed to answer 2 correctly. With an angry expression, Professor of Elemental Class Fire Element Magic, Hong Yil, you can't even answer the questions that the insects answered correctly, which means you are even lower than an insect, should. Think of yourself as an insect, and do it again. Do you understand? Bayan, who fell to the floor replied, understand mom, but Bayan's mother only looked at her more cynically. She felt disappointed. Listen to me, Bayan, you can't be like me, who was expelled from the kingdom, and hold on to this stupid professor position. With a sharp and terrible gaze, you can't be an embarrassment to the kingdom, she said sharply. Bringing her face closer to Bayan, Bayan's mother's hand moved to touch the side of Bayan's face. She said, you must be a better existence than your sister, with a terrible smile. You understand what I mean, right? Of course, mom, Bayan replied, even though in her heart, she muttered, I don't understand, I just live according to what I was taught and solve it according to what I was taught. Questions consisting of magic that I haven't learned, spells that I haven't learned, formulas that I haven't learned. Bayan then cried, and said, why? Why are you torturing me? In classroom S, the students have gathered. Baek sat in his chair muttering, I'm dead. Of course I was placed in a place crowded with social freaks. In the corner of the class some students talked about it. How did he get here? Someone answered, that's what I said, I still don't understand. Do you know, our parents protested why he was in Class S, and the answer is simply, Baek Yuseol has the qualifications to be in S class, and the answer was, really, that doesn't make sense. Yuseol heard the conversation and smiled bitterly, then muttered, I seem to be an outcast, while bending his hands on the table, but they have been working hard since they were little, so I would also be frustrated if a famous fool like me was in the same class as them. Well, a person's class changes based on their performance after each exam, so it's fine, he thought as he stretched his body. An S class is also not an exception. Of course I was placed in a crowded place filled with a social weirdos. In the corner of the class some students gathered. How could he be here? Someone answered, that's what I said, I still don't understand. Do you know, our parents protested why he was in Class S, I'll find out later. His eyes began to scrutinize the surroundings of the classroom. Still, this is great. Who would have thought that these game characters are in front of me? In a few years, most of the students in this class will be famous all over the world, and 5 of them also have the possibility to betray the magic world. Ma Yuxiang is one of them. While looking at Ma Yuxiang, Yuseol then looked at Flame. He thought, it's good if Flame can stop that from happening, but his reverie was interrupted when Professor Lee Hanwol entered the classroom, then said, everyone sit down. Yuseol then looked at the front. It's nice to meet you all, I'm sure some of you have seen me before, but I will still introduce myself. I'm Professor S class, Lee Hanwol. The students then whispered enthusiastically, so it's the famous Professor Lee Hanwol. Someone responded, the number of dark demonic humans he hunted had almost reached 4 digits. No, someone said, they call him a 7th class magic warrior, he is at a much different level. Professor Lee Hanwol then said, "Everyone calm down, it seems there are many talented students here, and also a very unique student, as you all know. This academy is a place where we educate combat mages. As a magic warrior, you will undergo a rigorous high school education for 3 years. I don't expect all of you to be able to follow it, however, I hope you all show me your best efforts." During that time, there was a question. The whole class was silent. Professor Lee Hanwol then said, "Good, then let's start the class." Suddenly the classroom door opened to see Hong Bayan. Stepping in, seeing that Yuil then muttered, "Who would have thought that Hong Bayan, who followed the rules more than anyone else, will be late?" Hong Bayan was seen talking to Professor Lee Hanwol. Yuil then thought, "What happened? Let's use nightingale glasses to make sure." While wearing nightingale glasses, a hologram of the system then appeared. The hologram contained, Hong Bayan Adalabit, Violence, Fire Mage, likes red ginseng candy, sometimes likes to burn himself, only drinks espresso brewed using alchemy methods, having an evil mother, is certain to die. After seeing the hologram, Yuil then thought, "Not this, is certain to die." If Acel died because of flame, Hong Bayan died because of Acel and flame, it can be considered that this is the destiny of a villainess that cannot be avoided. If I want to save her, but I am not in a position that can help others. While removing the bulbul glaze, the voice of Professor Lee Hanwol was heard. "Now you can sit in your chair." Yuil thought, "I feel bad, but I can only keep my distance." Yuil then fell silent when he realized, Hong Bayan was heading towards him. They looked at each other. Hong Bayan then sat next to Yuil, feeling a little panicked. Yuil muttered, "What is this?" feeling that the situation will be complicated from the beginning. Professor Lee Hanwol said before his class started, "We will organize the wand inheritance, for your magic use while at school. Class S and Class A will do it together." For details, hearing that Yuil then thought, "The wand inheritance ceremony is a bit annoying, but I guess I'm looking forward to it." While putting his hand on his chin, there are 2 big events in Stella Academy. One is the familiar contract ceremony, and the other is the baton inheritance ceremony. As Stella Academy is the first academy, the baton inheritance ceremony, as the first Stella Academy, the wand inheritance ceremony has an equally special meaning. In the wand inheritance room, Professor Lee Hanwol gave an intrusion to the students. He then said, "Is everything here? Wands from the lower class to the upper class have been prepared here. All you need to do is take the wand you like. The process of selecting the wand once selected is very complicated, therefore I hope you choose it carefully." Yuil then muttered to himself, even though he said so, "It was not us who chose the wand, but on the contrary, in the Aether World, magic wands will only respond to one person they deem worthy of being used, and that causes a resonance effect. Basically, you can't use a high-level magic wand just because you want to use it." While walking to the row of Yuil's magic wands, he then thought, "This makes me wonder, what kind of magic wand should I choose? If it was me before, I would definitely choose a magic wand that is intended for Class F, but now I have to choose it carefully because I am a Class S student. The magic wand that best suits my position now is the small type." Magic wands are usually divided into 2 classes, wands that are small and staffs that are long. Wands are usually used by the knight class, which usually casts magic continuously. On the other hand, staffs are usually used by the bishop class, which focuses on single hits with a long spell time. There was someone talking about Yuil. He said, "Hey, what do you think he will choose?" Hearing that, Yuil then muttered, "Whatever, just think whatever you want." From a distance a student from Class A called him, "Hey, Yuil." Yuil looked at him confused, then asked, "Who are you?" The student who called earlier said, "I'm Uzlek." Yuil then thought, "Who is he? This is the first time I heard his name." Yuil replied, "I see, so." Uzlek asked, "Which magic wand will you choose?" Yuil then replied, "Anything is fine." Uzlek then said, "You should choose a wand that matches your status as a commoner." With a dismissive face, "Don't make a fuss and trouble the professors." Yuil was silent for a moment, he then replied, "Yes, you also don't make trouble." While walking away, hearing that, Uzlek felt offended and shouted, "Bastard, make a scene." Yuil then muttered, "Annoying." While taking out his bulbul glasses, a hologram screen then appeared and contained Uzlek Chechbalin, son of the Marquis Chechbalin, Prince Jeremy's henchman. Seeing that, Yuil then thought, this much information. While reinserting the bulbul glasses, Yuil then looked at Uzlek then muttered, what kind of mob is he? Taking a short breath, seeing Yuil like that, Uzlek felt angry. He then said, anyway, I want to choose that one, you better pay close attention, while pointing at a staff. Seeing that, Yuil then thought, that magic staff, Edmari, should be the highest one here. Middle high class staff, usually used by pro-magic warriors. On the other hand, no matter how talented you are, middle-low class staff should be a limitation for someone who is still a student, especially because professional magic warriors alone are very difficult to get a middle-low class magic staff. For the record, there are other high-class staff besides Edmari. It is not intended to be chosen, but more of a showpiece here, heard Professor Lee Hanwol. He said, you stand in front of the magic wand you like. Seen the students are in front of the wand they want each. When the selection process begins, some wands shine brightly, very bright light. The students look amazed. They said, the staff chosen by Haewon Hayden Amikatan, isn't that a middle-class staff? Prince Galvan also chose a middle-class staff. Princess Hong Bio chose Suaviter Lagavon. She also has a middle-class staff. How many middle-class magic wands can a certified magician use? This year's students are a lot of crazy. Hearing that, Uzlek started to panic. He then said, damn, just watch out for you guys, I can do it too. While going to the magic wand, Edmari, there were students who said, Uzlek, maybe he wants to try to resonate with the middle high-class magic wand. Uzlek then pointed his hand at the magic wand, with a confident face. He then muttered, just watch, I'll show you what real S-class talent looks like. He then held the wand. Suddenly a bright light came out. Seeing that, Yuil then thought, I knew it. He failed to resonate. Uzlek was seen bouncing to the side of the magic wand, whimpering in pain. People said, he looks badly injured. Some said, hey, hurry up and call the professor. Someone whispered, I think the middle high class is impossible to choose. Yuil then thought, yes, it's better to give up. Ma Yuziang was seen approaching the middle high class staff. While smiling, someone said to Uzlek, hey, hang on. Because the owner of the magic wand had been decided, Ma Yuziang was seen on the side. Edmari confidently took the wand, while putting both hands in his pants pocket. With a smiling face, the people who saw it said, isn't that Ma Yuziang? Is he going to take the staff? With a worried expression, some people doubted, I guess she can't even take care of Edmari. Ma Yuziang pointed her hand at the staff, then held it. Suddenly a very bright light came out, making the students stunned. Ma Yuziang then smiled, because she managed to get the middle high class staff. People said with a surprised expression, impossible, a new student managed to take the middle high class staff. Is it possible? Yuil then thought, I expected it. Now more people will know how talented he is. Ma Yuziang turned to Yuil. Yuil felt confused. Suddenly Ma Yuziang smiled. Yuil then thought, what the hell, is he crazy? At that time Yuil thought, Flame also has another middle high class staff, namely Terryvon, but maybe this is the time when the routes will separate. If Flame manages to take Terryvon, Ma Yuziang will be attracted to him because of his genius, but if he takes another staff, this will open up a different route. I must use Flame to attract Ma Yuziang to our side. In an effort to ensure that, Yuil then looked for Flame, and when he found him, he saw Flame from afar. Yuil then said, found it, that's where the Trivon is. With a nervous face Yuil thought, what are you going to do? Flame saw Flame approaching the Trivon, right, take the Terryvon. Then Ma Yuziang will be interested in Flame, and we will have a higher possibility of reaching a happy end, Yuil thought, but soon after, Flame actually moved away from the Trivon. Seeing that, Yuil then thought, what, she's not interested in the Trivon, what's going on, does she not know about it? Maybe she doesn't have enough information. Either way, this is bad. Flame should be able to resonate with any staff because Flame is the family lead. What if she chooses a strange ending stick? Then maybe we will also lose another good route. With a panicked expression, if this continues, I have no choice but to push the Trivon towards her. Instantly a golden-colored aura enveloped her body. With a serious face, Yuil used teleportation magic, blink. Suddenly Yuil moved behind Flame. Flame then looked back. She was then surprised and thought, when he was behind me. Yuil then said, hi, I'm just curious which staff you will choose. Flame replied, why are you curious? Yuil said, I just want to help because you look like you are lost. Flame replied, this is none of your business. Then goodbye. While walking away from Yuil, Yuil then said, wait, while putting her index finger on her cheek. Yuil thought, something is strange, Flame should be friendly to everyone because she is a very social person. Why is she so cold now? Yes, I can't just give up like this, my life depends on this. Yuil then said, hey, wait. Flame turned to Yuil. Yuil said, I really just want to help you choose a staff. Flame immediately refused her help. She replied, just mind your own business. Yuil said, but I think there seems to be a suitable staff for you here. Flame then felt annoyed at being bothered by Yuil. She then said, what do you know about staff, in a high tone. Hearing that, Yuil then thought, what the hell, did I do wrong? Does she not care about extras? Yuil then said, I heard a lot about you, don't you think you can take that one? While pointing towards the Terivon, Flame replied, Trivon. Yuil said, right, that one, but suddenly there was a mysterious sound. Yuil then said, what is this sound? When he turned around a magic wand flew towards him, he then closed her eyes, and when he opened her eyes suddenly a wand was in her hand. Then she said, that surprised me. Looking at the wand in her hand, Yuil was confused then felt panic. He then thought, why is this in my hand? Flame should have taken it, damn. Yuil looked at Flame, he said, Flame. Flame looked at her with a terrible smile. She said, why? Yuil replied, it's nothing, with a panic face. And feeling that everything was not going according to plan.